Let's start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord, please guide us, the reporters, for us to properly report our report. And please guide our classmates that they may understand what we are reporting. Amen.
A good day, Sir Sulit. We are the group that will discuss the chapter 3 in campus journalism. Okay. I will start this report first with a quote of Ben Hecht. He said, trying to determine what is going on in the world by reading newspapers is like trying to tell the time by watching the second hand of clock. Okay. For me, the meaning of that quote is Ben Hecht is referring to a clock. Referring the news to a clock, that we are following the news like a clock to stay updated on what is happening on the world, because we like to stay updated, of course. Now, let's continue. Um, our report is about news, a backgrounder, chapter 3, journalistic writing. Let us understand the news. News must be factual, yet not all facts are news. A news item is based on actual occurrences, situations, thoughts, and ideas, yet not all facts are news. Meaning, it may not be of interest to anyone, or meaning it may not be a news is may not be an occurrences or a situation may not or an idea may not be an interest to anyone or not for everyone, but like what for example, like what's happening inside the school may be news for students, like foundation day, sports day, like that. But it's not for the outside party. They don't find it newsworthy, but except if it will concern, or it is something big that will concern the nation, like for example, a teacher is stabbed, or a student suicide, something like that, or the schools the schools in the Philippines join together or join together for a campaign, something like that, then that would be an actual occurrences, situations that would be of interest to everybody, that is a newsworthy. Now, Soriano and others describe Soriano and others 2012 describe a news is any oral or written report of an event in North, East, West, and South, or news, that is of interest to the reader and which should be reported. Meaning, news is happening everywhere, and we can follow it through any means like radio, television, or even in our gadgets like social medias or any other websites that will contain news. And news is always of the reader's interest, meaning that it should be known if it interests the readers, or if it will concern the readers, or everybody, then it is a newsworthy. Now, dumako naman tayo kay Malinaw, 2008. He point out that news is basically about an event, idea, or a reaction that is presented factually and simply in written form to give the reader an idea of what is currently happening around him or her, particularly on matters of interest to the community. Okay. As opposed to Soriano and others, who define that news is any oral or written form, kay Malinaw naman, sabi niya lang, it's written form. It's just in written form. Well, it's still based on facts, on events, on occurrences that is of interest of the community. Now, kay Estrada and Singh naman. Estrada and Singh, 1987, they said, news is timely, factual. report of events, ideas, or situations interesting or significant to people. Others define it as literature in a hurry. Yes, ano bang definition natin ng literature? Kasi ang definition ng literature is just written works. And a news is also a written works. So, literature in a hurry, meaning, kasi nga, pabago-bago to. Hindi to nag-i-stay lang sa kung ano yung kung ano lang yung nakasulat sa kanya. Lagi siyang nagbabago. Lagi siyang nagmamadali. That's why it's literature in a hurry, ang sabi. Okay. Timely factual report of events. Ibig sabihin, ito yung lagi siyang nakasunod sa kung ano yung uso. According kay Estrada Insing, that is what news is. Yan naman kay Puig and Flores, 2005. They posited that news is any information that is significant to a particular set of readers. Okay. That's why we have different columns of, I think it's columns, it's different pages of news. For example, business news is for businessmen, news is for headlines is for everybody, or just who wants to know what is happening, for just people who wants to know what's happening, but not everybody read news, or hindi naman lahat sinusubaybayan kung ano yung nangyayari, lalo na sa newspaper. Though, pag it's event that is concerning, like for example, bagyo, syempre, sinusubaybayan nila yun. A particular set of readers. So, meron nga dyan for obituary, for business news, for someone who wants to find a job, for someone who just wants entertainment, for someone who just wants to see what is the opinion of this writer to a particular news. Kaya ang sabi ni Puy and Flores, ang news ay for just particular set of readers. May kinikater silang mga readers. Yeah, Soriano and Henson, 1999. They inscribed that news is a reportage of accurate facts, events, and ideas that interest a large number of readers. Anything that is refreshed or regenerated is also news. Ang sabi nila. Okay, accurate facts, events, and ideas that is interest of large number of readers. That it is it's for a news is for large numbers of people. And ang sabi din nila, a news is anything that is refreshed or regenerated. Okay, so pwedeng kahit kahapon siya nangyari or sobrang tagal niya na nangyari, kapag nabuhay ulit yun, pwede ulit buhayin yung balitang yun. For example na lang yung kaso ni Vong Navarro, that happened a long time ago, pero nabuhay ulit, and ngayon nung nakaraan ay sobrang init ulit ng balitang yun. Now, according to Pangalinan 2012, he provides another definition, which goes, news is information that has a meaning for a set of readers. O, katulad kay Puig and Flores, ang sabi ay particular na ang news daw ay para sa may kinikater silang particular set of readers. Ganun kay Pangalinan, ang sabi niya, news has different meanings depending on who is reading that news. Kaya tayo may iba't ibang section ng news. Okay, in summary, news is everything that is currently happening everywhere in the world that is in the interest of the community. Of course, and naka sa facts lagi. Hindi pwede siyang, though sa dyaryo laging may section doon for opinions, though nakabase pa rin yun sa facts. May sinusuportahan yung opinion niya, yung opinion ng writer na yun, may sinusuportahan pa rin siya ng facts. Okay, now let's see the news in school papers. It said that a student journalist should remember that anything that concerns the school, its students, the teachers, including the parents, is newsworthy. Okay, that's as simple as that. Everything that's happening in the school, inside the school, or that um, kahit outside man yan, basta it concerns the school, it is newsworthy. And that's all.
Good afternoon. So this is the continuation of our report. Ms. Cantal discussed the understand the news and news in school paper. Now I will discuss the characteristics of good news, types of news stories and according to range and reach. So characteristics of good news. First is timeliness or immediacy. The more recent the event, the more appealing it is to the reader. So, timeliness and immediacy, events or stories that have recently taken place or will happen in the immediate future have immediacy or timeliness. It talks about breaking news stories or stories about unexpected events that are developing are good examples. So next, conflict. The physical and mental struggles of person are also newsworthy. So, sa conflict, it talks about problem or ano nga bang issue yung dapat pag-usapan. It is one of the most important of news elements. It is inherent in nearly all news of sports, war, crime, violence, and internal disputes, and it all story involving difference of opinion. Number 3, proximity or nearness. Although proximity primarily refers to geographical location, it likewise means the nearness of interest and appeal. So, sa proximity or nearness, it refers to geographic nearness. Normally, a reader is more interested in an event geographically nearer than the one which has taken place in some remote part of the world. Number 4, accuracy. Journalism is anchored on facts. Accuracy primarily refers to the punctualness of news as per or truth. So, sa accuracy is the value of being truthful. Number 5, significance. Is something is important to the reader, surely he or she will read the news. So, sa significance, talks about the impact on the readers. Number 6, prominence and names. Names and effectuate situation and their facts and their acts may be more interesting to others. So, prominence and names means person, places, things, and situation known to the public for their weather, social position, achievement, or previous publicity. The reporter should always add as many prominent names and places in news stories as possible. The more renowned particular name, place, event, or situation, the more interest the news will create among its readers. Kasi 'di ba pag nilalagay sa dyaryo yung mga celebrities, mas pumapatok yung dyaryo o mas mabenta. Next, drama. Since news is also anchored on public interest, writers should bank on any story that can lead the writers to crying or to laughing. So, sa drama, it also promotes the value of a news story. A reporter always tries to find pictures, background, and dramatic action for his news. Number 8, Oddity or unusualness. A theory explains that when people are curious about a phenomenon deviating from a natural course, they will be interested in such a topic or issue. So sa oddity or unusualness always helps to make facts interesting. The greater the degree of oddity in a story, the greater it is value of news. 9. Romance and adventures. Stories about love, including adventure, may ignite the taste of the reading public. This is also the reason why showbiz news continuously booms. So, sa romance and adventure, it's all about literature that talks about love and experience. Next, progress. Attaining breakthroughs thoughts, and achieving scientific discoveries are given much attention by the readers. So sa progress, it all about discoveries, achievement, and development in science and etc. that can caught the reader's attention. And last is numbers. For person stick or figures have the power to shake the conviction of the audience. So, sa numbers, using of graphs, census, and mathematical formulas in showing a particular information. Next, types of news stories. Spot news. This is a news story that gathers information as it is broadcast at the same time, hence it unscheduled and demands immediate publication. So, sa spot news is the latest news reported immediately. Spot news is news that is reported as it happened from the location at which it is happening. Next, coverage news. Its difference between the spot news is that coverage news is written based on the given assignment to the reporter or news writer. The assignment is sometimes called VIT. So means any news programs, news update, or news story in any media format devoted solely or primarily to the broadcasting or distribution of information about current events. Advanced news. In advanced story, writers' skills in creating many news perspectives on a subject are tested so as to create climax when the event happens. Sometimes series stories are created with one or two reporters guarding the newest. So, sa advanced news, a story about a coming event, attribution, telling the reader exactly where or from whom information was obtained. Last is follow-up news. While advanced news is predictive, follow-up news looks into the upshot to an event or situation. So sa follow-up news is a journalist term for a story which is written so that you can report more of a story which has already been published or broadcast. According to range and reach. Local news. This is a news item the subject of which happens in one's own community where the paper originates. So sa local news refers to coverage of events by the news in a local context that would not be an interest of another locality or otherwise be a national or international scope. National news. Country-wide news is called national news. It is determined when the news impacts the people of a certain country. So, sa national news, the reporting of events around the country through traditional and new media formats. Foreign news. All news items which trace their origin from outside the borders of the country are called foreign news. So, sa foreign news, is a culturally expressive form that allows audiences to find their identities and values in what foreign countries are reported through what channel. Last is Dateline News. This news is introduced by a dateline which states the place from which the story was reported, the date, and the source of the material if not written by the local staff. So, Dateline News story has important information that indicates the city the journalist was in when he or she reported on the story. It also indicates the date the story was filed. However, the dateline does not indicate the place of publication. So, that's all my report po.
Good day everyone, I am Gerald S. Mangala and I am one of the demonstrator of the Chapter 3, the Journalistic Writing. So now let's move on the third types of the news, which is the according to instructions. So always remember, tandaan natin na ang according to instruction or the third types of the news is have the two different parts, which is the straight news and the features news. So let's talk about the straight news. Okay, so dito sa straight news, lagi lang natin tatandaan, the first paragraph of the straight news always answer the questions or answer the 5 W's questions. So, what are those 5 W's questions? The what, when, where, why, and who, and also how questions. So, the first paragraph of the straight news, lagi niya lang sinasagot yung mga questions na yun, which is the 5 W's questions or 5 W's and H questions. So, but how we're going to know if what to those 5 W's question yung sinasagot ng straight news. So, let's always remember that it's depending on which of those 5 W's questions are the most prominent among them. And if we're going to talk about the body paragraph of the straight news, it's just consists of the collaboration of those questions, which is the 5 W and H questions. And always remember that straight news is written using the inverted triangle structures. So now let's move naman tayo sa news features. So dito sa news features, para lang din siyang daily assignment of the news writer. So bakit ba siya tinawag na daily assignment of the news writer? But before that, news features often called or also called as special features. So bakit din ba siya tinawag na special features? So kaya rin siya natawag na special features dahil nga yung news features is the daily assignment of the news writer. So it means na araw-araw merong news or merong news features, which is makikita natin dito sa news features yung mga human interest and yung mga special news features na kadalasan na nangyayari din sa paligid natin. So kaya din siya tinatawag na special news. So dito naman sa single feature or one incident story, it may be an account of a speech, an interview, an election that deals with this isolated event. In writing a news features, a story with this kind of structures include the one feature in the lead and the body details which clarify and explain the lead. Ayan, so dito naman sa single feature or one incident story, from the word itself na rin, a single feature. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung mga account or speech, yung mga part ng story sa news na kadalasan yung speech lang, interview, or mga napiling isolated event lang. And kadalasan dito sa single feature or one incident story, yung one feature in the lead niya, or ito na rin yung nag-e-explain or nagka-clarify dun sa mismong body lead niya. And next, dito naman tayo sa the several features or also called multiple angle or composite story. Dito naman, kung mapapansin nyo dun sa example na given or given example, para siyang inverted triangle na sunod-sunod. So, in a composite story, two or more divergent aspects of a news topic are drawn together for the sake of the space and coherence composite. story is composed of units, each one made up of fresh spot, news, frequently with a reference to the future. So, at it said, so dito, ina-emphasize dito yung space and coherence composite of the story. So, bakit nga ba? So, dito kasi, at sinasabi nga dito, di ba, yung two or more divergent aspect of the story or the news topic ay dinodrone sila together para dun sa space or para mabigyan pa ng para mas mapaliit pa yung space or and coherence of composite of the story. Okay, so dito naman tayo dumako sa fact news. So, ano nga ba yung fact news? So, from the word itself, fact news. Ibig sabihin, dito sa news, dito sa fact news, kadalasan, fact lang talaga siya. Ibig sabihin dito, makikita natin dito sa fact news is series of facts or series of events that consist facts. So, dahil nga series of events siya dito sa fact news, meron siyang kadalasan makikita natin siya in a rectangle square or rectangle shape na kadalasan yung dahil nga series of facts siya, yung pagkakasunod-sunod nito ay binibase dun sa importance ng facts or kung gaano ka-value yung data na pinagkunan ng mismong facts. And next naman, let's move on to the action news. So, ano nga ba yung action news? So, dito naman sa action news, it's written in a narrative form naman. So, dito sa action moves, nagko-consist din to ng mga simple facts but in a dramatic way. So, paano dramatic way? So, kadalasan, yung mga yung description of the person involved and yung testimony of the witness. So, sinusulat siya in a dramatic way. So, dito naman sa action word, kapag magsusulat, action news rather, kapag magsusulat ka ng action news, kinakailangan na ibe-base mo dun sa yun nga, sa mga simple facts and dapat in a dramatic way din siya. So, sa pagsusulat ng action news, kinakailangan na we need to know or we should know what kind of story that we're going to write. And next naman is after that, we need to summarize our story or we need to summarize the lead. And after that, kailangan ma-relate natin siya dito sa important detail of the narrative. And that's how we can write the action news. So, ang next naman natin is ang speech, report, quote, and the interview stories. So, ano nga ba itong apat na to? So, the arrangement of speech, report, quote, story, and the interview are to great extent similar. The quote story may be charted as the alternating large and small rectangles of the diminishing size. Summary, quote, summary arrangement. The quotations may be direct, indirect, or combination of both. In writing this kind of story, the following suggestion may be helpful. So, ito yung mga suggestion para pag magsusulat ng ganitong klase ng story sa news. So, the first one is write summarizing lead in the appropriate form. So, we should write it in the appropriate form always kapag gagawa tayo ng summarizing lead. The next one naman is to write the body of the story in a summary quote, summary arrangement. So, if we're going to write the body of the story, kailangan siya in a summary quote or summary arrangement. Dapat proper din, in a proper way din yung arrangement niya. And the last one naman is the lead may be summarizing statement in a case of speech, a statement, letter, or interview, or it may be the most important quotation in the story written as direct quote. So, mahalaga dito yung pagsusulat ng mga direct quote, lalo na yung mga important quote. So, now let's move to the fourth types of the news, which is the minor news form. So, ano nga ba yung minor news form? So, let's see. So, yung minor minor news form, meron siyang 5 important parts. So, ano nga ba yung mga 5 important parts?
For your
The first
assignment,
one
using a
is
broadsheet newspaper, choose one article and identify what characteristics of a good news writing are applied.
And the fourth one is the sidebar, and the last one is the flash.